The Porcelain Palace, an ode to my favourite public toilet. Concealed between a church and a medical centre, on an unassuming street in Hove, there is a gate. The gate is rusted and inauspicious, sometimes haphazardly chained, and receding into the shadows next to a wall papered in torn posters advertising prenatal yoga classes and political protests. It is a mere stone's throw from George Street, Hove's charity shop mecca, and therefore 1,000 people must pass it every day, but one can hardly imagine that many of them even notice it's there. Many of the people who do go in will be too distracted by their full bladders and sense of urgency to take in what they are seeing. This gate leads to a public toilet, one of the few left in Brighton and Hove that has not been closed by the council. And of all the public toilets in Brighton and Hove, this one is my favourite. Its setting alone is exquisite, concealed in the shadow of a church tower, right under the nose of the Lord, so he can catch the stench of urinal cakes drifting up from the cracks in the pavement. The entrance may be enticing all by itself, but anyone who passes through it will immediately find themselves at the top of a porcelain staircase, and even when Alice fell down the rabbit hole, she surely could not have expected anything as incredible as what you will find at the Goldstone Villa's men's public restroom. Descending the spiral stairs, one can only feel like a princess descending a grand staircase in some Disney movie, viewed many years ago on a grainy VHS. In their pristine whiteness, they sparkle like whimsy. One perhaps hopes to find a silk ball gown crammed into a broken cistern, or a pair of glass slippers concealed under a loose porcelain tile. How many men have found their Prince Charmings here, tasted the droplets of liquid gold atop the prince's staff after being strewn with strings of pearl, before the church bell outside struck midnight and sent them all scurrying off back into the shameful night. Once you have descended the stairs, you are in the belly of the beast, a claustrophobically cramped porcelain palace, all what was once brilliant shining white, now streaked and pocked with grime and dirt. The further one travels underground, the dirtier it becomes. It is a wonder earthworms don't drop from the cracks in the walls. The air is thick with the heady aroma of urinal cakes, and every mirror is streaked in hues of yellow and white, perhaps specks from someone brushing their teeth after a chance encounter, or globules of pus ejaculated from aggressive pimples. A single halcyon strip light buzzes overhead, casting everything in interrogation white and completely muffling the rumble of traffic above ground. To me, it feels like being swaddled in a white silken cocoon, one that smells damply of urine. The glamour of many public toilets is ruined by updated facilities. It is the ramshackle and the shit-smeared that creates the most delectable buzz. Here, there are only 2 cubicles available. One cubicle is disused. A scum of grease and fermented urine creates a shimmering film upon the water in the bowl, and the seat is smeared with vibrant stains. An abandoned cigarette, swollen with piss, floats upon the water's surface, its rizzler skin unfurling, and the tobacco floating away like the guts of a disemboweled mosquito larva. But in the other cubicle is the crowning jewel of this palace, and though I generally much prefer using the urinal, I must make a special exception here. For in this cubicle, on the wooden shelf above the cistern, one can find my favourite piece of toilet graffiti. A toilet's graffiti is an essential aspect of its character. In the scribbled profanities on cubicle doors, one can find poetry more profound than anything written by Eliot or Verlaine, and art more striking than anything hanging in the Met. In this cubicle, someone has traced their hands in Sharpie upon the wooden shelf, and between the hands they have written, "Place hands here." And if that isn't enough, in the uppermost right corner someone, perhaps the same person, has scribbled "gay rights." Hidden in the corner of the shelf, did the writer intend to hide this small piece of political activism out of some kind of shame? Or is it tucked away at the periphery to be read as subtext, a line drawn between the commands to place your hands above the toilet and the political action that makes such an act so compelling? Whatever the case may be, the combination of the two, positioned in such a way that one is forced to look at them, whether they are pissing or being bent roughly over the bowl by a lover's hands, creates such an air of possibility, of community spirit and pride, that I can truly say I've never felt more proud to be queer, and I can hear Judy Garland singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow every time I zip up my fly. Other public toilets strain for this level of effortless glamour, but none can pull it off. A public toilet just off the Shoreham High Street comes close, with its charming wooden toilet seats and chain flush, but a band of porcelain tiles around its edge are replaced with crimson replicas, a poor alternative to the classic white. It gives a failed attempt at respectability, a decision from some poor, misguided interior designer, who I imagine to be the sort of person who only ever has sex in bed with the lights off. Conversely, the public toilets on the Brighton Promenade, next to the Volks nightclub, are beautifully decorated. Every spare inch of wall is scrawled in toilet graffiti that looks more and more like the asylum scribblings of some deranged madman. One particularly long passage starts, "Pair of fucking tits, fucking cunt, wet pussy," before the rest of the paragraph breaks apart into a tangle of illegible scribblings that slide down the wall. But as beautiful as the decor may be, these toilets lack atmosphere. They are far too cavernous and reverberate with the sound of snivelling, crying children and the irate clippings of their sunburnt parents. All of the other toilets in this city are fitted with those hideous electronic hand-washing machines, are too clinically clean or permanently closed. The Goldstone Villa's toilets are a Noah's Ark, carrying perhaps some of the last of queer sexual repression into the modern age. The men here all look shifty and depressed, desperately trying to stare at the instrument in your hands from their peripheral vision at the neighbouring urinal. I do my business, I wash my hands of soap that smells of nothing, I hold them dripping wet under a hand dryer that refuses to do anything. Just as it should be. For full effect, you must dry your hands by rubbing them on your trousers, leaving damp handprints on your arse, the faint ghosts of all the stories acted out upon the cracked tiled floor. One could stay in the palace forever to dance with the ghosts, but the threatening beams of sunlight trickle down the staircase, and the outside world of shopping and traffic and ginger and black pepper scented soap cannot be held at bay forever. I almost hasten to share my love for the Goldstone Villa's public toilets, for like all good things, their overexposure can bring about a smudging of their character. But I am sure I am not the only one who wishes to see a perfect public toilet, and as often as possible. So to not share would be most unkind.